Bhambayi is one of the many developing communities that cling to the edges of Durban, the economic centre of KwaZulu-Natal and home of Africa's largest and busiest harbour. Like most informal settlements, Bhambayi is home to thousands of people who have moved to the city in search of employment and an escape from the endless cycle of poverty. Most of the houses are built with little more than mud and sticks. There's no electricity or sewage, and whole families often live in one tiny room. For the lucky few, Durban has provided employment. For them, the day begins early. Bhambayi is about 40 kilometers outside Durban, on the border of the sprawling industrial belt and the beginnings of the sugarcane lands. Buses and crowded minibuses take them to work, while behind them, Bhambayi comes to life. Bongani Mbata knows every street, house and person in Bhambayi. He has witnessed Bhambayi's descent into bloody violence, and now as the chairperson of the Bhambayi Reconstruction and Development Committee, he is central to its rebirth as a vibrant, developing community. Water now flows to communal taps, and although unemployment runs at about 90%, some people at Bhambayi are creating their own jobs and building their own future. Bhambayi has now become home. A scene like this, of children playing soccer, may seem to be a natural and ordinary sight, but in Bhambayi, it is a miracle, especially these children on this land. For this land forms the border between the ANC and the IFP. Just a few years ago, the parents of these children were involved in a bloody, bitter conflict. From the mid-1980s to the early 90s, Bhambayi was notorious throughout South Africa as the bloody face of politics.
If I know that you are the member of the political party that I don't belong to, I'll have to burn your house. It started like that, and then the people were stepping one another with their spears or assegais, and then they were shooting to one another with the homemade firearms, these so-called quashas in our language. And then this thing developed, like right where I am, behind me. That is where it was in December 1, 9 people were gunned down, December 1, 1993. Even my brother, younger brother, was there. It was terrible. It wasn't the freedom of movement was not easy.
There are many causes for the conflict in Bhambayi, including poverty, overcrowding, unemployment, and even criminal organizations. But much of the violence played itself out along political lines. The IFP was born out of the Zulu heritage, and most of its members are Zulu-speaking people. To be a member of the IFP is more than just a political affiliation. It is a set of beliefs and standards centered around the Zulu traditions. Much of KwaZulu-Natal is historically dominated by the Zulu people. Today, however, vast numbers of other cultures contribute to the demographic mix, particularly in the urban areas. This is where the ANC holds its power base in KwaZulu-Natal. It does not get its membership from any one cultural or race group. Rather, its membership is born out of the culture of liberation. As the governing party of South Africa, the ANC policies are sometimes perceived by some members of the IFP to favor the central government and the economic structures of the country rather than the regions. So there is the belief that they do not have the Zulu people's interests at heart. Bhambayi divided itself along these political lines. A small stream formed the boundary between the two political parties, and full-scale war was fought between the two sides.
Right where I'm standing was the borderline between for the IFP and the ANC. In as much as that, if having crossed the line, then you might get killed, even if you are not part and parcel of the violence.
The violence perpetrated by both sides knew no boundaries or limits. Every person in Bhambayi was affected. There was no neutral ground and no safe houses.
Day and night was just the same. There was fighting throughout. After a clash, wherever, the men used to come back here. You couldn't go home. We were like dirt because we couldn't take a bath. There was no time for that. We do not want this to happen again, not to be with our wives because of something that does not pay. We wish that other people all over may not start something like that which used to happen here because it does not pay.
Ironically, Mahatma Gandhi's first ashram overlooks Bhambayi. It was here that he developed his philosophy of satyagraha, or active non-violent resistance. It was also one of the reasons that Bhambayi was given its name. Bhambayi being a distortion of the word Bombay. But it is fitting that Gandhi's old ashram should witness Bhambayi's journey to peace. There was no magic formula for peacemaking. It was not the result of one or two people or one or two interventions. Rather, it was the result of many different organizations and people working on many different levels, communicating and complementing each other's efforts. This is Bhambayi's model of peacemaking.
There were many stakeholders who took up arms and say, let's try to stop this thing of killings here in Bhambayi.
Churches were able to play a strong role in bringing about peace in Bhambayi, as members of both sides of the political divide often came from the same congregations. As a result, church organizations were seen as being impartial and were able to arrange meetings between the two parties. While the churches mediated between the leaders, they were also very successful in getting the people on the ground to meet. Prayer meetings and peace rallies brought people together as Christians, not political opponents, and a lot of superstition and hate was overcome. Miriam Thele is an active member of the Methodist Church and was very involved in bringing about peace in Bhambayi.
She played a very important role in bringing about peace in Bhambayi. I remember the day, it was on September 3rd, 1993. She came up with the members of the United Methodist Church. We held the church service at the clinic, at the Gandhi Clinic. From then we proceeded to the IFP area to conduct the very same service. And then after that, all the people agreed on one thing, that they were eager for peace. Then they were determined to meet, to reunite with their family members and friends. And then that's how the peace was launched in Bhambayi through this lady, Miriam Zale. She was brave enough. I must point it out that she was brave enough, because not even a single man had such an intention of taking such an initiative. Even the members from the political sphere or any sphere, no one, everybody was scared. But she did take such an initiative.
People were staying in shacks, and there were quite a lot of people there. And people from different countries or towns were running away from their place to Bhambayi to seek work. So whoever came there built a shack. The most thing that was said at Bhambayi was the people were so crowded. One of them said they want to be the Reds. They called themselves the Reds, and the others were the Greens, which means the Reds were the ANC, the Greens were the IFP. And then the violence started. They started fighting. From there, people were killed. They killed each other terribly. Children were killed. Women and men were killed, and they were fighting. And they divided themselves. The Greens wanted the Reds to join them. The Reds wanted the Green to join them. They said, we are better people than you, and the others said, we are also better people than you. They started fighting. When I visited Bhambayi, I tried to find out what is the cause. Why are you really, really fighting? Why? And the way they were killing each other, burning each other's houses, they didn't even have a pity for the children. They just killed everybody who was there.
Together with other church groups, Miriam became involved in a series of interventions that would change the history of Bhambayi.
The church played a big role. Without the church, Bhambayi wouldn't have been what it is today. We decided to go there. We went there 4 times. The first one was the ministers, the head of the churches, who tried to stop them from fighting, but it carried on. The second time, I invited the women. I said to the women, we usually have our prayer meetings on Thursday. So I invited the interdenominational. So all the churches went. The women went there to pray. We went and prayed. We did the best we could, and we went away, but it didn't stop. The third time, we invited the ministers now and the congregations. So everybody went. Again, when we went there, that was the day when we really felt that the Holy Spirit is here with us, because we decided to go to the Greens. Those are the people who were a little bit stubborn. They all ran to join us, but some were scared in the houses because they saw some of the people whom they were fighting with, who came with us. Some were so bold that they just came with us. And the others said, no, we are afraid, we won't go there. But some of them came out running, coming to join us and sing with us. It was a nice day. It was joy to everyone. Although, as I say here, I want to show you, some were hiding here, wanting to shoot all over this place, in those houses. They were hiding. I think this is the spot. Let me just see which one was the spot. Yeah, this is the spot where we had. Yeah, this is the spot where we had our service. It was here. We arrived, we were singing, and we were dancing, and we were praising the Lord. And then we started the service. The ministers took over, and they started the service. They read the Bible. He started preaching. It was a short sermon because some of them were scared. Some were saying, no, I can't stay longer here. I'm afraid of this place. There was violence all over, and there was shooting. And then they said, let's do it quick. So they started the service. We prayed, we sang. While we were standing here in a row, a big crowd, this woman just came out. And she opened her hands like this. She says, my hands are full of blood. She says, these hands have been doing a lot of evil. She says, who will clean me? Somebody said, ministers, come and clean me. So, and then she says, these are all my relatives, my neighbors, my friends, but we can't visit each other because we are fighting. And then she came forward. And then they all came and everybody hugged. And everybody hugged each other. And they were crying and they were singing. And there was joy. We went home happy. And they said, do you remember the time when we were standing here and while we were talking and the guns started shooting? Bang, 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 bang. And they say, hey, we used to look at you and say, hey, this woman is brave. Ngangingekho brave, ngangisaba nami.
Emveni yambe wasala ubabole ngathi wathi uculo apho washona.
Uphi umawakhe?
Umawayo ulapha ngasethu uhlala na.
The father was killed immediately after we left on that day.
Washona ubaba wakhe.
He was a very small baby.
Samngcwabe lapha emolweni.
Yeah. Those are the bad stories that you find from this area. We make peace, we are happy, we go home. After we have left, there are people who are coming and killing.
The road to peace is hardly ever smooth. To the peacemakers of Bhambayi, It often seemed like an impossible journey, but they did not give up. And because of this, Bhambayi is a very different place today.
We are not scared, and you can't hear anything shooting. No shooting. But at that time, you could hear bang, 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 all over, bang, bang. And if you look at the people, there was no smile to any one of them. You could see that there was violence. They were cross, they were talking, they were in groups. You know, it was scary. You didn't know what they were thinking of, what were they going to do next. But now you can see they're just laughing, they are sitting, they are washing, doing their washing, talking. They're free. It has changed.
While a lot of skills were brought by people from the outside of Bhambayi, it was their relationships with the people and organizations already on the inside that made them so successful. The indigenous independent churches were one such organization. They formed a bridge between the outside and the turmoil within.
We also helped to bring about negotiations because we did not take sides. When the people were trying to bring about peace, we asked all the different people and congregations to come together, to pray and ask for God's help to unite the two groups. So all the different people came together with us till there was no fighting.
Everybody in Bhambayi agrees on one thing, that the formation of peace monitors was a crucial step in bringing about peace.
At that stage, the monitors were formed. The structure of monitors was formed. It was a joint structure, IFP and the ANC. I still pay respect to them because they played a vital role in keeping the violence in Bhambayi that was going on in Bhambayi.
10 IFP and 10 ANC members were trained by the Provincial Peace Committee, who successfully trained the peace monitors for South Africa's first democratic elections. Stanley was a young ANC member and David a young IFP member. Together with their colleagues, they became the peacekeeping heroes of Bhambayi.
The ANC monitors and the IFP are working together to bring peace and stability. They used to meet once on Friday and discuss the issues that are causing problems within the community, and also identifying the criminals within those political parties that are causing violence and corruption within the community, and expose them to the community so that the community will take initiative to inform the police that these are the criminals.
As a peace monitor, my job was to mediate between the people when they were fighting. If there was a problem in my area, I must attend to it and try and stop it. If it is beyond my powers, I must call the police, especially if someone was hurt. A peace monitor must be someone who can talk, who demands people's attention when he opens his mouth, so that people will listen to what he has to say.
Often, just the visual presence of the peace monitors stopped a hostile situation becoming violent. However, being in the forefront of the violence put the monitors in considerable danger.
Then they gave us our first, which is written peace committee. Then it's how people identify us with it. But it was difficult for the first time. Then we decided to organize the mass meeting on both IFP and ANC and say, look here, we can shoot everyone, but if we can take care of these people, it will be okay. Then they said, okay, but if we miss you, if we miss one of our opponent, we'll shoot you. So it was like a joke.
The peace monitors were effective on many levels, not only as a deterrent from violence, but also as a channel of dialogue between the two parties. Because the ANC and IFP monitors trained together, they trusted each other. This link was often used by their leaders to call for talks. Once the dialogue was started, the peace monitors also played a vital role in keeping the peace process going.
Peace cannot be prevailed in Bhambayi without the monitors, because the monitors are the key people to communicate. It's a way of communicating with the other parties, because both parties were not having any tolerance within each other. If you see the ANC members being the IFP member, you see the enemy the way it was. But through the channel of the monitors, it was easy to communicate with both parties.
The work of the peace monitors, church groups and other non-governmental organizations created a climate in which the two parties could come together and talk. Negotiations were vital in stopping the violence and maintaining peace.
The negotiations were very super in bringing about peace here in Bhambayi. That I must say, because if the political parties didn't embark on themselves into the negotiations, nothing would have happened, or no peace would be prevailing here in Bhambayi.
One of the most notable achievements of the negotiations was the establishment of the Bhambayi Reconstruction and Development Committee, or the BRDC. This committee became one of the strongest forces for peace in Bhambayi. During the violence, the committee members realized that if the people were shown the benefits of peace, they would be more inclined to stop fighting. The first project was the building of the bridge into Bhambayi. The bridge became a symbol of the benefits of peace. The Indian community which surrounds Bhambayi was also involved in working for peace. Ela Gandhi, the granddaughter of Mahatma Gandhi, was a member of the Phoenix Settlement Trust, which managed the land on which Gandhi's ashram stood. She remembers the birth of the BRDC.
We managed to get the IFP and the UDF, and now it's ANC, people together to form the development committee. So there was IFP and the UDF people who served on that committee together. To have managed to bring these two groups together, I think, was the most, remarkable achievement in this area. And I wouldn't say that the committee was the only player in achieving that. There were the peace monitors. There were a number of groups that came together and managed to set up this committee.
Bhambayi began to concentrate on living rather than killing. The noises of bulldozers and tractors slowly replaced the sounds of screams and gunshots. As the leaders of the BRDC soon found out, the promises of better living conditions was an effective way of getting people to look beyond their own fears and prejudices.
It's impossible to tell the people that stop killing one another, or stop this, stop fighting, having nothing to promise them. If you stop doing this, what will be the alternate? So we decided to promise them that if you can stop doing this, you can see wonders. And then after we had initiated peace, then we decided to push out and force up all the contractors that come, do this.
By working together, the BRDC was able to obtain funds from the provincial government, and development began. First on the list was water and electricity, and they're currently working on a sewage system. There are also plans to start a housing project where the people of Bhambayi will be able to own and build their own brick houses.
These are the belongings of the people who fled away from the area during the course of the violence. So we, as the leaders, we decided to take up the initiative of collecting all their stuff and keep them here in this building, the so-called clinic, so that whenever they come back, come back to Bhambayi, they'll be in a position to get their property without being stolen or ruined or being used by anyone who is a thief or so.
During the violence, many homes were destroyed, along with documentation such as passports, identity documents and birth certificates. The BRDC now arranges government officials to come to Bhambayi and help residents get new documentation. In peace building, stopping the violence is only the first step. The challenge is to create and maintain a lasting peace. In communities such as Bhambayi, where communities have been traumatized, there is often a lot of anger and hate, and this can lead to further violence or prevent people from leading a happy and productive life. The program for the survivors of violence has been working with the people of Bhambayi to help them cope with the trauma that they've been exposed to.
They showed us so many different things. They made us to get together as parents, and you know, they bring a lot of life into us. Like after the violence, we were all like dead inside us. Yeah, and they helped us, and they helped us to form this group.
Together with counseling, they provide practical training, like in the running and management of this creche.
We make weekly workshop where we have a workshop dealing with anger. Yeah, how we can deal with the person who have a trauma or stress. We run those exercises, and then we go to the community development. Yeah, because they have a creche, we teach them how to fundraise, yeah, to get something, and how to write letters for donation, so that they can do on their own if we are away, because we are NGOs, so they not rely on us. They can make things on their own, not to depend.
Oh, the food come from survive of violence, who were asking other people to give us a help. They were trying to develop us in our minds, how to plan to grow up as a women's group.
Violence affects and destroys everyone. Yet Bhambayi shows there can be hope and peace if effective assistance is given.
I lost my brother. If I'm talking about the violence, I don't know how can I tell you in terms of my mind and my heart.
I have a vision of seeing Bhambayi having been transformed from an informal settlement into a prosperous township. And it should be an example here at Inanda.
Bhambayi is well on its way to becoming that example. They now have their own football team where the children of IFP and ANC members play together. And now that the community is free from the threat of physical danger, they're turning their attention to other needs. These dances are called umfenes, which directly translated means baboon. On weekends, these are the social events. A dance costs 10 cents, and there's plenty of money to be made from food and drink. The young women of Bhambayi have started their own modeling club. There are no age restrictions, and it is probably the most popular club in Bhambayi. Very few of these children have access to television or other forms of entertainment available to more affluent children, but their imagination always provides lots of entertainment.
I am the organizer of the show. We are trying to develop the children of Bhambayi so they don't get into crimes and drugs. We are trying to discover talent. We will be proud if we have models from Bhambayi who did not go into town to learn their skills.
I said to myself, I've been working with elderly people all the time, but the children have been neglected. So this is their chance now. I must take out the violence into their minds, stop them from going to the street to be called street children. Most of them, their mothers and fathers are not working because of the violence. So they are so frustrated, they are so traumatized. that they can do whatever they want to do, evil, at any time. So that is why I've got them here. The idea is to keep them busy, to use their minds, to take the violence out of their minds.
So all these developments that have taken place are the fruits of peace. That is something that is tangible. Even democratically, as a politician, I can put it, the freedom of association, the freedom of movement, the freedom of speech, those are the fruits of peace that we are busy enjoying at the present moment.
There have been many lessons learnt from Bhambayi. The main message is that peace comes through working together with members of the community, non-government organizations, churches, the security establishment, and of course, political leadership. They all have a part and role to play in building peace. Bhambayi has also shown that peace cannot be negotiated and implemented from the top down, that the community must also take part and work for peace. This way, the root cause can be identified and addressed. The achievement of Bhambayi is that it is establishing a lasting peace, not a temporary ceasefire. Both sides are talking and working together from the ground up. This has been made possible by addressing and working towards the healing of psychological trauma, for it has been shown that the traumatized can themselves be perpetrators of violence. Secondly, by bringing development into the community, the two parties have been united in a common goal from which they can both benefit. Bhambayi shows that peace is achievable and that dialogue can make partners out of enemies.